We are presenting our task. This is called end-to-end database application following the three-tier enterprise model. We are the two group members. Earlier we were four group members. Now we will explain each component that was used in this project 4. So we will start with the NetBean login servlet that we use to design the login servlet. This is the exact same thing that Professor taught us, except a few things that he used a couple of other things to get the social security number. It in my database we have SSN on three number three, like the object is on three number. So here we used as a three. The other things were like the same, like we used to get the request thing, and then we use the user and password, and we also need to use the driver for this OGDBC that we have already installed in the dependency, and we also use the uh, servlet API .jar file from the Apache NetBean that we have installed manually here, and then simply the query about that and the username by password. Professor used password.wrd. That didn't work for us because in our login servlet we have passwd. So passwd, yeah. So this is how the SSN we can retrieve the SSN using the the login table. And then if there is something here, we can just simply say that yeah, the this username is valid, and this is the object that will actually say about the social security number, as I just mentioned. This is in our case it's on the third number. First is username, second is password, and third one is social security number. So if that doesn't work, it simply says no. So it doesn't say anything else, just say no. For that, we need to I go to this Apache folder, and in Apache folder I need to go to web apps, and web apps I actually uh, used a folder Sleepy Hollow and webinf classes, and here we see this login class login Java that is copied from the NetBean Apache NetBean project from the target folder. So now let's go to the jump to the JSPs part and see how the JSPs are working, like each JSP. The Tomcat Apache server, and these are all 6 JSPs. That first piece, let's just see the first one, the inform.jsp. How does it work and what does it contain? So the basic rules are the same that professor gave us, that like a previous file that we all are using. I assume. So we just need to use this driver manager Oracle database for each GSP. We also use this university's server name and server ID and things, and the port number probably. And then this is my username that I'm connecting to this server based on our Oracle database. So this step is to connect to the database. And now the important portion for in the info.jsp is this part, to how to make a query to get the social security number. So the first thing is what do we need actually? So in info.jsp, we have to give the input as a SSN, and based on that is SSN, we need to get the name of that person and the total sale that he has made. So all these informations are basically in my database are in employee, obviously, like the information of employee given on the SSN, because the SSN is given in the employee, and the name we can get the name from here, and we have to merge that like not merge, like combine that with the employee sales. So we have a folder here, employee sales. So yeah, so employee cell has an SSN as well as a key, foreign key, and then from there we can just get the total cells directly, or just add all these sums to get the information. So let's see how the query is designed. So as I mentioned, ename is basically this is here. I do the sum of all these months, and we are getting this e from the employee by giving the SSN. So SSN is generated here in our browser. In the future we'll see the same on our Android app, and then it is merged with the employee cells. And if it is there, it will give group by that, and then it will provide us both of these. So let's work on the second one, that is the transaction.jsp. So let's open and see what does it contain. So the structure is same, like we need to provide the SSN as an input, as it's given in our project description. And if this is not empty or null, so we can choose the same method to connect it with the Oracle database. And then I provided my name and my username and password. And the important thing again here is to how to prepare the query. And so this was simple. We don't need to get anything like merge anything. So let me show you first that in our transactions table, we need to get the we have a social security number as a key. So based on that, we can just retrieve the transaction ID, date, and the amount. Okay, so we can just create a basic query that says select transaction ID, transaction date, and amount from the transaction table, that is the bill, and based on the social security number that we provide. If there is a social security number, it would work. If it doesn't work, then it will say like provide me the correct social security number. And if we don't provide anything, it will simply say like there is no social security number provided. I'm going to show you both of these. So these transaction ID and date, and these are separated by comma here. So let's yeah, so after that, let's work on the third JSP file that was related to transaction details, I guess. Yeah, let's open and see what is inside that. So the basic idea is the same, but like we need in our uh, project description, we need to provide transaction ID instead of social security number that we provided before that, like info.jsp and transaction.jsp. So now we need to work on the TXN ID, and that's a transaction ID. And if the transaction ID is not null and this, and then we can further move ahead. So that means the same pattern that we need to follow to connect to with the Oracle database. And now the for output we would need the transaction date, so that is transaction date, and the transaction amount that we already got from the previous transaction .jsp file, and we can get the transaction. So this information is available in our database in the transaction table. So let's see if it is there. So let's see. Yeah, so this is the transaction. We need the transaction date and the amount, so we can get these two output components from the transaction table. And the third one was related to product and the product name and the product quantity. So for that, we need to make another query, and that is product name, product price, and the product quantity. But where does it lie? In our table, it lies in this one, transaction product relationship, and we need to join that with the product table to get all this information. So this is how the two queries are generated. First, to get the transaction from the transaction ID to get the date and the amount, and then that transaction ID was used in. Let me just show you in the database. So this is the transaction ID of this particular user, and this is the transaction product relationship. So in that, we simply get these products. So these are the 10,001 of the transaction ID, and they were related to that these products 101, 125 till 105, and this was the quantity. So this information is gotten from this one, but we still need the date. Sorry, not the date, like the names of the products and the type of the product. So that is available in. So with the product ID, we can simply go to the products, because this is here the relationship of the product ID and the like in general product ID, transaction ID, and everything. So based on this product ID, we can see, okay, this was laptop and the price of this and this, and we could also get the quantity from the relationship of this transaction product quantity, transaction product relationship. So based on that, we got all the information, and these are separated by these comma. And if we don't provide any transaction ID, it will simply say like you didn't provide the transaction ID. So let's okay. Now after that, we have another JSP file, which I believe, yeah, award that ID.jsp. So let's see and then what does it contain. So it will require the SSN again, and then we need to see if SSN is there or not. If not empty or something, if it's empty, then it will say no SSN provided. And these three lines to connect with the GSP. Oh, sorry, not the GSP, like the to the Oracle server of GMU. And then the important thing in every GSP file is how to design a query. So we need like we give the input as in social security number SSN, and then we get the information of award ID of that particular employee. And this information in my table is available in the granted table that we have a SSN in. We provide the SSN, and we can simply get the award ID of that specific employee SSN in a granted table. So now after that, like we have another .jsp file that is related to granted details. I believe this is the second last. So let's see what does it require. So according to the project description, we would need to have a, let me see. So in a grant details, we would have to have we need to provide two input arguments like award ID and the employee SS social SSN, and then we want to have award date and award center number, two output from these. So this was one of the difficult query designing for me. Like it took a lot of time. So the idea is same. We need to have input parameters in on a browser anywhere. So unlike the previous one, we need to have two input parameters here. That is award ID that we got from the previous one, and then the social security number, and we need to set an if statement. If these are available, then okay. If not, then these are not provided. So these three statements are the same to connect to the database. And now, so this is how it is working here. We got the award date and the center name from the granted, like center ID from the granted, and then join it with the award center. And then we got the award using the center ID of that one and the social security number of that one. We simply get the date as well as the center name here, using to combining granted table and the award center table. So this is how it works. So if something is there, we can get the information. If it's not there, so it will simply doesn't show anything. So okay, now we have the one last .jsp file, that is transfer.jsp. So let's see what is it contain. So according to the project assignment, we need to provide three input documents: social source SSN, destination SSN, and the transfer amount. So this is the basic thing that we have in our database. So let's see what is in our database. So the JSP was easy to design because we just need to get information from the one table and not to join together. So we have this source social security number, destination security number, and then we need to provide the amount. So uh, if this works, if there is anything there, it will say in my this thing. Let's just go there. So it will give three like input arguments that user has to add. First one is for source, the second one is for destination assistant, and the last one is the amount. So these three statements are obviously the same that we have been using to connect to our Oracle database. And this is the query. This is as simple as it is. Just go to the transfer table and then select these three things. That is social security number from here and this. And we have basically these three things. So except the date. So date has been removed, and then we just gathered these three things. And if it is nothing is there, we can just I got somewhere that was like no such transfer found. So Shruti will explain how all these JSP files are run.
So first of all, we need to start up the Tomcat server. So once it starts running, we have to, let's check that the login Java servlet is working or not. We just have put on Michael Brown as the username, and the password is given as the password from the database. And you can see that it works fine. We can log in and we can see the user's SSN as well. And it matches with the database, as you can see. Right. Coming to Java server pages, the first one is info.jsp. In that, the request input parameter is employee SSN, which we got from the login page. Once we enter that, we can see the name of the employee as well as the total sales achieved by the employee for the particular year. And we can also check it from the particular database. Yeah. Okay, coming to the next JSP, which is transactions. In this one, we have to take the employee SSN as the input, which we got from the login page. Once we enter that, we can see the transaction ID, date, and the amount associated with the particular SSN, which can be verified from the database of transactions table. Yeah, you can see that the particular SSN matches with the transaction ID and the amount as well. Next is transaction details.jsp. For this particular JSP, we just have to input the transaction ID, which we got from the previous one. Once we enter that, we can see the transaction date, the transaction amount, product names, prices, and quantities belonging to the particular transaction ID. To check it, we can see the transaction table, I guess.
Yeah, it's in a detail like we don't need to open it.
Okay. The next one is awards id.jsp. Here we just have to input the employee SSN. After putting that, we can see the number of award ID associated with the particular employee SSN. The next is granted details.jsp. Here we have to take two input parameters. One is award ID and the employee SSN, which we gathered from the previous JSP files. After entering that, we can see the award date, the center name for the specific award ID, and employee pair.
Okay, let's run and run SSN. Let's see what.
Okay.
So it will not show anything. So if I run it like particular 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it will run. Or I don't know. If we can run it, I can show you for the other SSN as well. So let's see what is in the award ID. Okay, we have a table. Okay, so award ID and this one. Okay, but I don't know like which award is associated with this one. Let's just run this as a login thing, and then we can check it. Let's say 987 7. I don't know if it would work or not because 98765
4321.
Okay, but I'm not sure what the award ID is. It could work, it couldn't work because the awards ID also match over this one. Okay, so this.
Yeah, there is an award.
Yeah, so Abdul Sadar ED is the center name, and this is the address. And likewise, we can do the furthermore. So this is the last JSP page, Shruti.
Yeah, so the last JSP page is transfer.jsp. Here, the input parameters is source SSN, destination SSN, and the transfer amount. You can see the transfer complete message if there was a transaction involved with a particular SSNs, but if there is no transaction, it will say no such transfer found.
And we can also show if it is there. So let's say it's
Okay.
Okay, so transfer would be this one. Yeah. So that means when we enter this SSN as a source, and this SSN, as you can see on the browser, as a destination, and the amount when I enter, so we see like the transfer is completed. So all these JSPs are working perfectly. And now I will explain each part of part 2 of the project, where I will explain how we all designed this 5 activities, and how did we go to log in this whole 3-way enterprise application. Okay, so let's now go to this Android Studio and start the client-side thing, client-side application, where there are 6 main activities and 1 login activity. So this is my main activity, which has like 2 edit text and 2 text views, and 1 login, or just a button, like a login button. I named this login to Sleepy Hollow. And just for the fun, I just add like a app designed by me, so by my name. So let's go to the code of this one. So the code is pretty simple, like that we were taught in the class. So what happens is we have 2 edit text here and 1 button here, and all the operation would work on the button that I named as login to Sleepy Hollow. I think Sleepy Hollow, yes. So what happens here is like we request to the volley jar, and that would work on the main activity. And then whatever we receive like from the user for a username and the password as a string, we will give it to the URL, like the way that we show you in Shruti and I show you in the browser. It's like the same thing. And once that thing requests to the server will respond if we have any information available in our database regarding that user and password, so that would give us information or like log into the other activity that is a main activity 2. If not, then it will say us like the internet password and username. So let's run it first and show you how does it work. So there was a one user. Let me show you. Where is it? It's on the other side, I guess. Uh, yeah. So this is my login in SQL Oracle SQL table. Okay, this is log. Okay, it has been reset now, and the connection has been reset. Probably it will take a little time. Okay, so these are the 20 employees that we have in the Sleepy Hollow database. So let's see the first one, for example, John Doe, and I will like in the end of this recording, I will also show any random person. Let's say the second one, Jen Smith or Emily Johnson, Michael Brown, and Jessica, because these are the 5 people whose images I've added, right? The first 5 people. So I'm going to show any of these 5. So let's see the John Doe and the JD password 123. So let's work on that thing first. And so I remember the name because I have used it several times. Okay, John Doe. Okay, so it's login, right, from the main activity to the main activity 2, right? It says here like all the intent would go from this activity, that is the main activity, to the main activity 2. Now the information available is like first it says the welcome and then the name of that person, and I just like added the same image professor gave us to us, and the total cell he has made throughout like the year. So these are the things. The rest of the things I will explain one by one using these main activity 2, main activity 3, 4, 5, and then I will show you the exact how it works. But let me just go through the code of this specific portion, and then I will, because main activity 2 is the most important, and like it will take you from this activity intent to the other activities, like the third one, transactions, transaction details, award details, and transfer. So all these JSP files that we created, so it will take all these buttons will take us to the main activity 3, for example, for transaction, and the main activity 4 for transaction details, main activity 5 for award details, and main activity 6 is for transfer, and exit is for just to exit the application. So let's go and just see this portion, how the application, like the main activity 2, will retrieve the information from the info.jsp file and give us like the same thing that we saw in the browser, like the one, like this one, name and total cells. And then we, as I also show you the images, edit image folder added into the Tomcat Apache web server in the Sleepy Hollow folder. So I'm going to show you how that has been implemented. So the first thing is that we initialize this image view. So that's where the image will be retrieved, and then we the basic thing just initializing the image view and text view, and then I send a request like the way we did on the browser, like Sleepy Hollow info.jsp. That will get us the SSN. And sorry, that will take the SSN as an input, and it will give the same output like the name and the total sales. That will fill our text view. So this is our text view. The first text view will fill it by the name. The second one will be filled by the total sales. So send the same. It is the same method, like send the request to the URL, and there are 3 arguments on this and this, and being sent. If it doesn't work, then it will show the, actually if it doesn't work, then it will not show us anything because we are already logged in. And for the image, we need to send a request on a direct image folder that is in a Sleepy Hollow folder, which is also in a Apache Tomcat server, and it will require the SSN plus .jpeg that I just show you. So what will happen is it will create a request and send a request, and if there is an image, it will get us an image. So let's run. Okay, so now we are on the activity 2, like main activity 2, and as I told you, like all of these things are on the main activity 2. So like all the buttons that will take us to main activity 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's work on main activity 3, that is related to transaction.jsp, and the button that I named as transactions, and it will take us the information that we saw in the browser to the main activity 3. So let's go and see what is on the XML of main activity 3. So it's very simple. It's one of the simple activities among all of these. So what happens is we have a text view here, and this text view will be filled by the information that the main activity 2 will give us. Like when we click to the main activity 2 button, the transaction button here, so it will send a request to transaction.jsp to the server, the JSP file, and then all the information that is retrieved, it will show us here. So the actual data, like the actual code is here in the main activity 2. So what happens is we just initiate the button, like the, as I told you, the transaction button, and then we send the like all the activity that would happen, that would like in terms of requesting, in terms of getting the information, would happen in the main activity 2. We as see it in the transaction, sorry, the main activity 3. So this will just send a request SSN that we already get from the previous activity. So we don't need to initiate it, we just name it as an employee SSN. So this is the same URL that we use in the browser, and plus SSN, like, and that we just named it employee SSN. And we send a request to the get URL. And if we get anything, we would get like from this activity, that is a main activity, to the main activity 3 class, and the text view, it will show, it will, all the retrieved information from the transaction.jsp will be retrieved on the main activity 3 text view. So this would be the information that will be passed here. Let's run this and see how it works. So I used the John Doe before. The first one I show the Jane Smith. Let's work on the Emily Johnson and see like how does this work. So Emily Johnson, EMLI Johnson, and password is EJPWD121 Okay, so yeah, so it's still like the main activity 1 was a username, like the main activity. The second one was the to provide, like the main activity 2 has so many things, but the important thing that it requires was the name of that person, that is Emily Johnson here. Before that, we saw the Jane Smith and John Doe before that, and the total amount that total sales amount that issue. So it's also working. Now we are on the main activity. We want to go to the main activity 3 and see if there is anything that we can get. So before, so let's just go here and see. Okay, so this is the information that we get from the browser. You can just compare the information. So transaction ID 10,003, date is this thing, 3rd March and 2023 and 2100. So that means that works. But yeah, before going to that, like how did the main activity 3 works? So main activity 3 simply get the information from the transaction, show the information to this XML, like this XML. Oh, sorry, no, so the text view, and it would simply get the information, get intent information from the main activity 2 and pass it to this transaction, this transaction details to the what is it called? The text view, get information to the text view. So this is how it works. Okay, so now let's work on the activity 4. Activity 4 is related to this transaction details button that is present in main activity 2. So once someone clicked, like a user clicked to that button, it will get back to the transaction details of that person. So let's see like how does it work. So what would we need for the XML 4, like a main activity 4 XML file? There's a simple like a text view that just say okay, select the transaction ID, and this is a spinner. So as I told you, like in my database, each employee or like a particular employee has only one transaction. So that transaction has a single ID. So if I had put more than one transaction on a specific employee, we could see like many transaction IDs, and based on those transaction ID, when we use select the item like in a spinner, we could see the different details in the transaction text view, all the transaction details, like the same as this one. But I remember like we use only one transaction ID per user, so we can see only one transaction ID of user. So what happens here is simply like in a transaction, let's go first to yeah. So this is the table for this is a code for transaction details table. Sorry, the button 1 2 that I show you here, transaction details. Okay, so what happens is we would get the SSN and pass the SSN to the main activity 4, and that's the only thing that the main activity 2 does here. And what happens in the main activity 4? Main activity I did it here. So there's a spinner transaction ID. This is the text view details of the text view. That's where we get all the retrieved information from transaction details.jsp, and then we use these IDs and everything, and we get the SSN passed from the main activity 2 here, and then we initialize the request queue, and so this process could be done easily by the main activity 2 or 3 that we use in main activity 2. But same process that we did for the activity 3 and main activity 2. So I did the same thing. If there's just to apply, just to send a URL request to transaction.jsp so that we can get the transaction ID from the transaction.jsp file, and then use it and then pass it to the that particular what is it called, the spinner. Okay, and then from the spinner we can get the information retrieved from transaction details.jsp, like here. Okay, like here, yeah, this one, and then from there we'll pass the information to the all the detailed information to the text view, that is this is here, like here. Pass it to the then this transaction ID using the same method for transaction details in here. I just use this number, like this specific number that we received from the spinner, and use it and send the request to transaction.details.jsp, and based on that we received the whole detail. And if this first and see like how does it whole thing works. Okay, previously I used we use Emily Johnson. Let's work on Michael Brown. So we will like verify that each part is working, like each this whole application is working for all of these members. So we can go up to 5 because we have 5 images saved. So we can use John Doe, Jen Smith, Emily Johnson that we have already used. Now we can work on Michael Brown, and then we can see Jessica Garcia. So Michael Brown, see, and the password is MB password 789. So yeah, so this is Michael Brown. Unfortunately, this is a lady here, like a it should be a boy, but yeah, we need to work on the transaction details here. So let's see if it works or not. So yeah, so the transaction ID explainer works, but as I told you, each employee might have only one ID, so it will transaction ID, so it will just show the one. Otherwise, if I had more than that, it could show more than that. So okay, now let's work on the activity 5 that is related to award details, and that is specifically related to granted details.jsp. So this is the third button in the main activity 2. Once someone clicks it, it simply passes the SSN to the activity 5, and then all the work will be done on the activity 5. This is simple, same code like from the previous one, like the transaction details. So it's the same for award details. Simply if someone clicks on this award details button, and it will listen and then get the SSN, because the activity 2 contains SSN as well for the previous activities. It will simply pass that SSN and like moving to the activity 5. So let's see what is in the XML file of the activity 5. So like this is here is a simple this is a simple text that simply says a user that select any award ID, and all the award IDs would be in the spinner. But because we have only one award ID per employee, so there would be one only item in the spinner, and all the information that we get from the award IDs, we can see it in a granted granted award.jsp file, and that information will be retrieved here. So we are expecting this information from the granted details.jsp, and we are also getting this information from award details.jsp just by putting an input of SSN. So let's see how does our when activity 5 works. So we have a spinner, we have a text view like the one we had in when activity 4. Now we would work on this activity when activity 5, and these are the award the text ID and spinner ID. So first thing we would need is we already get the intent SSN from the main activity 2. So we can work on award.jsp because it would only require the SSN as an input. So now once we get it like the way we did previously and use all these things, and it will pass this spinner this number, and then there is no any ID related to that, because I told you there are 20 employees in the database of Sleepy Hollow, and not all of them has a transaction. So if there is no transaction, there might not be a transaction details. That is further. Yeah. So passing that thing like using this queuing request as from the previous like the same thing, and now setting up this listener. Now this spinner award ID that is available here, it will listen for this award ID the number, and then once it catches, it fetches the details, and now we can work simply on a URL of our granted details.jsp that would require award ID, and that we just got from here, like from the whole previous section, and then the SSN that we have the SSN. That's why we got the award details, award ID format. So let's run this and then see what can we get from this one. So earlier I used we worked on Michael Brown. Let's see if the Jessica Garcia works or not. So let's go and put the password. The password would be JDPWD. JDPWD. The password is 456. Okay, so this is Jessica Garcia. It's again work on the activity file that is related to award details. Let's see if it works or not. So yeah, this is the same. So that says award ID 5, and this is the detail. So let's work on the activity 6 that is related to this transfer button, like the previous one, like the first button was related to transaction 3. Oh, sorry, the activity 3, 4, 5, and now the last activity is related to transfer 6. Activity activity 6 that is a transfer. So once the user clicks that button, it will lead it to activity 6. So the activity 6, what does it do is like in the GUI we have a headline, simply says transfer. We have another text view that will actually work, or it will show the whether a transfer complete or there is no transfer, like the way we show in a browser. And we have two edit text. So one is to enter a destination SSN number, and then the amount that was related, that was transferred to that employee. So let's first see the transfer button is more or less like the same as the award details and the transaction details button. What it do is simply it will use the button transfer that I show you in the GUI of the activity 2. It will get the employee. It has an employee ID, right, from the previous intents or from the previous activity. So it will simply pass it and then pass it to the man activity 6. So this is how once the employee click the transfer button, it will simply go here. So like here, so he will see this screen. So let's see what is on the code of activity 6. So we have one edit text destination, social security number. The other one is text amount that he has to upload. He can get the information from the previous intent, like activity 2 social security numbers, like its own username, and then the amount that is transferred. It will simply show the message whether it's so it's simply like this one. This one that doesn't show here anything. It's like scenario, and this is where the information can be seen. The transfer completed, and if there is no transfer, there is no transfer completed, something like that. So let's do see what is in this one. So we have just initialized this part, and then we get the social security number from the PS1 from activity 2, and then the button will work by before button. We need to put the strings like the social security number destination social security number, and then pass it to the. Now we have like both of these, like the amount and the social security number that we enter as a user. And now this is the same URL that we have been using. We need the just social security number of source that we get from the activity 2, and then we have the destination that we will enter and the amount that we'll enter. Okay, and then it will work based on that. And if there is nothing there, we will see there is no error message that this is not here. So let's work on that first. So let's run it again. Yeah, okay, that was the issue. So we are again on the main activity 2. We have already worked on the transaction details, transaction award details, and now we are on the second last button. That's the transfer. That's the main activity 6. Let's go here. And now it's asking about the destination, enter destination social security number, and also to enter the amount. So from the this screen, we can see the 9765. So basically, we don't need to enter, as I mentioned, the social security number, social security number, because it's already passed on the activity 2. And now we just need to enter this amount. Sorry, that this destination security number. So that's in 9765 431. Now the amount, I remember the amount. Okay. So it says transfer complete. Okay, so for example, let's see if I say this one, they say no such transfer found. So it's like the same I showed you previously. So yeah, this is how it works.